Kicking off the keynote panel is Darin Kasamoto, the General Manager of the San Gabriel Valley Municipal Water District. Darin's going to be talking about the stakes are high in the San Gabriel Valley. He became General Manager in 2004, and before that he served as the district's Assistant General Manager. He has a Bachelor of Science from Purdue in Civil Engineering and a Master's of Science in Civil Engineering from Cal State Long Beach. Join me in welcoming Darin to the podium.
First, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. This was quite an undertaking, and we're very gratified with the turnout that we've gotten. You know, our panel is to focus on risks concerned with the water supply, but before we actually get to the panelists, we thought it good to give an overview of the San Gabriel Valley. So I'm going to give just a brief overview of the San Gabriel Valley. So as you can see, what is at stake here if something happens to our water supply? The San Gabriel Valley, it's not clearly defined anywhere, so you've seen some slides earlier, may have a little different numbers, but we're talking about the area that stretches roughly from Claremont out to La Cañada. So we're talking about 1.8 million people, 400 square miles, 69,000 businesses, 470,000 households. You know, it's quite an immense area, and the area is vibrant and it's growing. We have a very diverse population, as you can see, well represented in all demographics. So it's a very diverse and interesting area. You know, we have a high quality of life in the valley. For an area so small, if you look at the colleges and institutions of higher learning, you know, from Caltech, Cal Poly Pomona, you know, we have very distinguished schools in Claremont, University of Laverne, Azusa Pacific. I mean, they're too numerous to name. But you think of an area this size with that many higher institutions. We also have a very, very unique community college system. You know, we have very high enrollment at Citrus College, Mount Sac. We have a lot of educators in this small area. We also have a number of very prestigious, I would say, public school districts. You know, I live in an area where the Walnut School District is very well noted. And throughout the valley, there's very, very prestigious school districts. We also have some prestigious healthcare institutions, you know, City of Hope, Huntington Memorial Hospital. That's where my daughter was born, so I remember that well. But very distinguished, very prestigious healthcare institutions. Then you think of the recreational and the cultural things that we have in this area. We're sitting in the Fairplex, home of the county fair every year. You know, we have the Rose Bowl, Santa Anita Park. I mean, I could go on and on. I think most people are from the area. You know all that this area has to offer in terms of cultural experiences and just the quality in life. The quality of life, I would say, is very high. Our economy here, like I said, 69,000 businesses, 21,000 in private education, and we are also the home of JPL. We've been through a recession in the area. I think started in about 2008, 2009. We saw a downturn in the economy, but the area has bounced back and is starting to recover. And you can see here there was a steady increase in jobs in the valley, Employment increased every year from 2001. And then you can see there, that's kind of, we hit the economic downturn after a peak in 2008. But you can see this year, in 2011, we saw an uptick. So I think we're on the road to recovery. And these are just some of the green is where you see jobs gained, and the red is where you see some jobs lost in different industries. So you can see as a whole, the valley has recovered nicely and seems to be on the uptick. So what is the point of all of this? We have several speakers here that are going to talk about what would happen, what are the risk factors to our water supply. And going forward, as each of these speakers gives their presentation, I'd like you to ask yourself the question, you know, how would this economy, how would this region sustain itself? The worst case scenario, and it is a possible scenario, we have an interruption to the water supply. Now, I've lived in the valley for 25 years. I've turned on the tap and it's always turned on. But there are risk factors out there. What would happen to this region if that were the case? Now, of course, that's the doomsday scenario, and we hope we never get to that point. But even so, probably the best case scenario, we're going to see large price increases going forward. And I think Shane did an excellent presentation, that whole panel, on the reasons why, but that's the best case scenario. So how does this area, how does this thriving, I'd say, San Gabriel Valley, can it sustain itself, even in the best case scenario, if prices keep going up? So that's kind of what I'd like to plant the seed in your mind as these panelists come up, and think to yourself, what happens? You know, I've worked in this valley all my professional career. I graduated from college in 1987. I've worked in some capacity in the San Gabriel Valley for that entire 25 years. So my entire professional life has been in this valley. So when we started to put this panel together, I did start to think, you know, what would happen? You know, we don't like to think of the doomsday scenario, but even optimistically, the water picture going forward is cloudy. So with that, I'd like to turn it over back to our moderator, and we'll start having the panelists come up.
Thank you, Darin.